See, at least once a year, if we remember what is environment, we might think about conserving it. That's why globally people have talked about it. There are various deliberations happened. Understanding took place that they are going to organize an event every year to bring awareness among the people. Okay. Now, what I am going to tell you in the next one or two slides is about the theme of the World Environment Day. The first and foremost thing is, let us learn what is environment from the school book. Now when you look at this, what do you understand? This you must have studied this in a 4th or 5th standard, no? What is this? This is a simple food chain. Okay? When you look at the food chain, this is food chain, no? Gentlemen in the second row, in my class you are not going to talk. If you speak, I will put you here. In my class only I will speak, not you. Agreed? Okay. Now, see, when you look at the food chain, you see the producer produces a food which is eaten by herbivores and which is in turn eaten by the carnivore, and finally whatever is left in the system gets converted into elemental form by bacteria and fungi. They are called biodegraders or bioengineers. Now when you look at nature, there is nothing called waste. Do you agree? Where do you see waste? Where do you see waste? I am asking a question. You will see waste where? Where waste people are there. If you look at some ward where heaps of waste are there, you can say that many waste fellows are there in that region. Okay? Now I will show you the waste fellows. You see that the people, these are all the waste fellows who use too much of plastic, and these are sensible people. You see that they use the material which you don't have to throw it out. Okay? And you would have seen this kind of pictures. This plastic is supposed to be the low grade thing. We are not supposed to use it for food. People pack samosa in that and they bring it for the conference to give it to the audience. What kind of tragedy is that? And that conference will be on some climate change, sustainability, etc. Okay? Now, you know that who are the people? You see that somebody told me that these cups are environmentally friendly. It is not so. There is a thin layer of plastic in that. That again creates a mess in the system. Okay? And, plastic is anyway chemicals. Okay? Now let us look at the consequence of this, foolish fellows. See, they don't want to take carrier to the hotel. They get it packed in a polythene bags. Okay? And they eat in plastic plates only in the hotel. Okay, finally when it is thrown, it gets into our biosystems. Finally it comes to your blood. The microplastic was reported in the human blood. And the consequence of this one? There will be cancer. Okay? Now, see, that's why to bring awareness. Even the Prime Minister has to take the broom to tell the people, behave yourself. Okay? So that there are no plastics anywhere. Now, where do Karnataka stand as far as the plastic is concerned? We are in the 5th position. That is good. See, when we become top, like yesterday what happened, RCB, we won RCB and we lost 11 youngsters in Bangalore. That's a tragedy. The youth are asset of our nation. We should never lose them. Okay? So now, why I am against plastic? See, it has a chemicals like this, bisphenol A. See, if you want, when you listen to the talks of this kind, one thing you should do is, you should go back to your lab and do the experiment. If somebody has brought the plastic bottle, the water in the plastic bottle, just take that water and analyze it. Or if somebody has brought, a grade full in the class has brought the polythene bag sambar in that. Okay, you take that sambar to the lab and analyze. You will be surprised to see the traces of dioxin in that. Dioxin is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. That means, when your parents bring food for you, not in steel carrier but in polythene bag, they are not just giving you food, they are giving you cancer also. So if your parents bring food in the polythene bags or a plastic container, first thing you do is refuse. When you start refusing, reduction in the plastic comes down in the system. Okay, then recycle and all is the next part. But if we do the refuse, then automatically the reduction will happen in the system. Okay, now let me come to the theme of the conference. Okay, on the soil. Okay, so and also, without soil nothing can happen. That's what Dr. Pavitra also highlighted. Okay, the nutrient in the soil does matter. If you contaminate the soil, there is a problem. If you throw plastic or if you throw waste in the soil, that eventually contaminates the soil, and that contaminant comes to your food plate. Okay, so now I'll quickly take you through the Karnataka. Where ecosystem is bad, you have poor quality soil. Okay, for example, if you look at Western Ghats, rich in ecosystem, you have a reasonably good quality soil. Okay, so now we have done the analysis. Dr. Bharat was involved in this exercise. See, we have done the changes that is happening in the forest ecosystem and other ecosystems in Bangalore, in Karnataka. And if you look at, we are losing the forest in Karnataka. That is true throughout the country and the globe. Everyone thinks that they should have money only in the wallet. If they have money in the wallet, their job is done. But they do not know they have to breathe, they have to drink water. For that, they have to look at the ecosystem and of course to get the food also. Now, we also did the fragmentation analysis, how the forests are fragmented. Not only we have losing the forest also getting fragmented. Because of the fragmentation of the forest, you will see the human-wildlife conflict as it happens in Bannerghatta and other places. You see there is a bottleneck, a village, they have encroached the forest land and that has become a bottleneck for the movement of animals, wildlife. And that's where the conflict happens. If we can remove that bottleneck, we have solved the problem of human and wildlife conflict. Okay, so now we also looked at the physicochemical characteristics of the soil. What I am trying to say is, it's not today. Doing science is much easier than when I started the journey 20 years back. Getting the data was a big thing, but today you are lucky. If you want to start the journey about the soil quality, the government of India has prepared the soil health card at the block level. You get the physicochemical parameter and also to some extent the biological parameter also. So that means you can start the journey from there and so that's what we did. We wanted to understand what is the quality of the soil in Karnataka and how it has changed over the last 2 decades. Okay, and this is where we collected the data from various sources like the NBSS, LUP, etc. And this is the kind of data that is available from the government. Okay, now then also we see the kind of the data what we have is about. You look at the kind of thing, you have 2,41,373 sampling per hour. This is about 5 years back. And we have the micronutrient as well as the macronutrient. So once you have the block level data, how it helps the farmers. See, earlier farmers used to apply synthetic fertilizer thinking that if they put more fertilizer, they get higher yield. But now after this data is available, they know what is the nutrient status of the soil. They just consult the agriculture officer at the block or taluk level to find out whether the soil requires the nutrient. If it requires, then only they apply it. See, that's how the science helps. Any institution developing the database plays a very important role. See, when you have the data, you become powerful in the system. It is equivalent to having the money, institutions having the data. So now that is what we did, and each of the district, you can see the number of sampling plots, okay, which is again getting improved with the time. So now this Pavitra showed the soil status. One of the things we notice is the erosion, the factors. The way the soil is getting eroded, And also if you look at the degradation of the soil, as far as the country is concerned, Rajasthan is on the top as far as desertification is concerned. Karnataka is next to Rajasthan. We are making the soil, the land more and more arid. Earlier the land used to hold the moisture. There is a higher evapotranspiration. Now today, the land has lost the capability to retain the moisture. So that's where the degradation has started in the soil. And you see that the districts like Kolar, Tumkur and northern part of Karnataka, they all are undergoing the aridity in the region. Okay. Then we looked at the kind of the status of the soil 10 years back and today, and we followed the standard to say that what was the quality. There are 3 levels we did the grading and how it has changed. Now most part of the Karnataka, we see that level of the quality of the soil has degraded with the time. Okay. So that's what this shows. I will not get into the numbers, but when you see the number at 2 time period, you will certainly see that the more and more is getting into the low category than from the high quality categories. Okay. So these are now see, we also then prepared a consolidated the index to find out the condition of the ecosystem, wherein we looked at the soil parameter, then also looked at the soil chemical and physical parameters along with the biological parameters also, and then we graded in each district what is the condition of the ecosystem. When you look at this gives an idea what kind of intervention you have to have. Having a good watershed program which involves the soil and water conservation for any region is crucial. When you have a good soil and water conservation through the watershed program, you will have a high productive ecosystem in your state. That is the purpose of maintaining the quality of the ecosystem in the region. Okay. Now, this book talks about the worth of the ecosystem. We did the valuation of the ecosystem. Recently on October, we published that. Springer has brought out this publication, which is available online. Okay. So now, if you want to know more about our work, this is the portal where you get the data, where you get all our publication, and also we have developed the decision support system. For example, for the Bangalore, we have Bangalore Lake Information System, or it is also known as BLITZ, and we have for the urbanization Bangalore, we have Bangalore Urban Information System, and we have for the Western Ghats Spatial Decision Support System. If you access this, you will get the website looks like this. If you access Bangalore Urban System, you can see how the urbanization is happening in the Bangalore. Okay. Similarly, if you look at Bangalore Lake Information System, there are 216 lakes in Bangalore today. Out of that, 193 lakes we have monitored. My students have monitored, and the lake wise, you can select the lake and you can get the quality of the lake in the system. What is the physicochemical parameter? You can find out what kind of algae is there, what kind of zooplankton is there, what is the kind of the fish that is there in the lake. When you have this kind of parameters, these are all now, when you start the journey, it is almost 3 to 4 years old. That means you have some data to begin your study. You can say that 5 years back, these kind of species of fish were there, and today when I did a study, this is the kind of the fish that is there. But you should never copy and paste what is there in this one. See, I went for one of the conference recently, the last month. I was so happy to see about 20 students are doing the presentation. Then when I looked at the thing, most of the presentations were copy paste from this website. They have picked up some 5 lakes from one of the region and they have done the presentation. Then in one side I was quite happy to see the worth of this kind of information system. Other side I was slightly agitated because the students have not put in the effort that was required from the students. Okay. So in this you will also find what is the encroachment that is there in the lake system. Okay. So now let me come to the next part. Okay. See, agenda of doing science is, our agenda is to maintain the sustainability. That means what is sustainability? Sustainability of natural resources and also maintain the quality of that natural resources. That means ensuring clean air, water and environment for all of you and your children is the agenda of my science. Okay, for that you should maintain the ecosystem, and that is where responsible decision making is required. Now I talked about this. I will not get into the again. Now let us see the changes in climate is happening, how it affects us. For example, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the last week there is a report saying that there will be an increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature in the next 2-3 years. Now let us see the implication of that. If there is a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, we will lose 70% of corals. And if you increase by another 0.5 degrees Celsius, the loss is about 99%. And if you look at the species, we will lose 5 insects and 8 the plants and about the 4 the vertebrates. These are these insects, they are the pollinators. Dr. Pavitra talked about the importance of the pollinators. Without pollinator you don't have the food. That is where the pollinator helps. Now if we increase the temperature by another 0.5 degrees Celsius, you see the number of species we are going to lose is much higher. Okay, then look at the drought situation. How many people get affected? About 350. And if you increase the temperature, it goes to the 410 million people. And also sea level rise. Most of the coastal towns are going to face a problem, like Karwar, Kumta, Udupi, then the Chennai will face the severe problem because of the increase in the sea level from 48 centimeter. Now with the 1.5 degrees Celsius will become about 56 centimeters. And look at the population that is going to be affected. About 50 million people get affected because of that. Okay. Now the impact of the changes in climate is the floods, drought, glacier melting, and the productivity in the crop. That is a serious thing. The prediction shows that by 2100, 60% of our crop productivity comes down. Another the disturbing feature of the changes in climate is the public health gets affected because of the vector-borne diseases. See, now with a slight increase in temperature, you saw that the COVID has made its appearance in India and other parts of the globe. Such vector-borne diseases, COVID, chikungunya, dengue, we will face. You must have seen, whenever there is an increase in temperature, you will hear chikungunya and dengue instances from the Kerala. That is the kind of this one we will face. Okay. Now let me take you to the next part of my talk, the biodiversity. The biodiversity refers to the varieties of plants and animals on the earth. We have only one earth. When you look at the scriptures, for example, Rigveda make a mention of about 8 to 12 million species. See, we have inherited such a knowledge, but unfortunately none of us sit and read such scriptures. In science, we have estimated 1.5 million species, and still we do not know how many microorganisms that are there in this one. Now, why do we need biodiversity? Varieties of plants and animals. Because of varieties of plants and animals, you have varieties of food. Because of variety of food, you have the good health due to immunity. See, look at the people in Western Ghats. Go to their food plate and look at the food plate. Every day they will have 4 to 5 the items made from the diverse plants and animals. So because of that they are healthy and also they are intelligent. See, you can look at the people from a student from Dakshin Kannada or Udupi and a student from Bangalore who eats only pizza and ice cream. Look at the IQ level. You will understand what is the importance of having the diverse food or keeping your food plate as diverse as possible. See, your food plate decides your intelligence and your food plate also decides your health. If you make food plate more diverse, not coloring it, with the varieties of fruits and vegetables, you will have higher immunity in the system. Now, which part of the earth has the highest number of plants and animals? When you do the mapping latitudinally, you will see at 8 to 14 degree latitude, we have highest number of plants and animal varieties. That 8 to 14 degree latitude corresponds to Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Goa part of the Western Ghats. That means some of us have inherited such a rich, diverse ecosystem. It is our responsibility to pass it on to our children so that they will also enjoy the diverse food, etc. Now for that, to do the assessment of the status of the system, we have the remote sensing data. These are the pictures of the Earth taken from the satellites. Way back in 1973, we launched the satellites. Every 21 or 30 days interval, we get the picture of the Earth from 1971 to 2025, till today. So you can find out what changes are happening in the system. That is the kind of the benefit you have. And there are a lot of the improvement, advancement in geoinformatics because of the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Earlier to do the analysis for one district, I used to take 6 to 8 months. Today, with artificial intelligence and machine learning, my students complete the entire Western Ghats in 6 months. You see that because of the data availability and advancement in the technology, our capabilities has improved to make the informed decision making to conserve the ecosystem. So now when we did this analysis for Western Ghats, you see that forests are declining from 1985 to 2018. You can see the green are declining, that is evergreen and deciduous forest, and the forests are also getting fragmented. We did the prediction. What is the likely scenario in 2031? And 2031, our assessment shows there is only 10% under evergreen forest, and we will have less than 18% as the forest cover in the entire Western Ghats as against 33%. Now the implication of that is changes in climate. The temperature in Kerala will shoot up by 1.5 degrees Celsius. That means we will have more vector-borne diseases in Kerala and changes in temperature, etc. That's what happened in Wayanad. And rainfall pattern will change. Kerala might get low rainfall and high intensity rainfall. You might get the rain, but whatever the quantum of rain that was supposed to come in 4 or 5 months, it will come in few days. That means large quantum of rain in a short period, we call it as high intensity rainfall. When high intensity rainfall happens, there will be landslides and mudslides. See, when we wrote this article, Dr. Bharat is there, who is also, they worked in this thing. We had written a paragraph saying that likely consequences. We had highlighted that regions, parts of Kerala like Wayanad and Karnataka like the Kodagu will experience the problem or the tragedy of landslides and mudslides. This article we published in 2018. 2019, when there was a high intensity rainfall, there was a devastation in Kodagu as we had predicted. And this last year, again in Wayanad, we saw that entire community of 150 families were washed out because of the landslides in the region. That is where the science helps. Science gives the early warning. Only the thing is the decision maker has to take it and they have to come up with the proper mitigation measures. Okay? Now that is where we thought, if we tell what is the service provided by ecosystem in terms of the money, people will understand. So we looked at the provisioning services, regulating services and cultural services. That we call it as a green GDP also. Okay. Now one of the service is the carbon sequestration. How much carbon is stored in the plants. You all know photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is taken by the plants. Okay, that's how you get oxygen. How much carbon it has stored? If you assign the monetary value to the carbon that is stored in the forests of Western Ghats, it amounts to about 1.23 million gigagram of carbon is stored in the Western Ghats forest, and which amounts to about 100 billion rupees. And every year, about 37,000 gigagram of carbon gets stored. That means the emission that happens in the cities like the TVRAMACHANDRA, Cochin, Bangalore, Mangalore are already taken away by the forest in the Western Ghats. Now, you might ask, what is the use of this kind of research? When I represent country in the international delegation, I tell them, the carbon that is stored in my forest or the carbon emitted by you, because my country was not industrialized at that time. You need to pay us this much amount for the service what we have given to you. For every service we charge, no. If you go to a tailor shop, when they do the stitching, you will pay the charge. Similarly, for the carbon also they have to pay. How much they have to pay? That is what this kind of work helps. Okay. Now the next part is the linkage between the water availability and the ecosystem quality or health. See, this gives the two photographs of the two time period. This is in 91 when I was a student. There was a lot of water. And today, if you look at the region, the same day, same month, in the monsoon, I don't have the water. Okay, if you go to the Sharavati river basin, you see that 1965 we constructed a dam. Just look at whether the dam construction has affected the rainfall pattern. Download the data that is available online. 125 years daily rainfall data is available. You just divide that rainfall into two time period, 1901 to 1964, 1965 to today. Before constructing the dam, the entire Likinmakki catchment area was receiving the rainfall of 3000 to 4500. But after construction of the dam, one portion of the Likinmakki reservoir, which is not disturbed, continues to get 3000 to 4500, while the other portion, where there is a degradation has happened, with the availability of water, people converted a land into agriculture and which has become a degraded land, where the rainfall has come down to 1700 to 1900 millimeter. When you the overlay the vegetation cover, you see that wherever forests continue to be there, rainfall is maintained there. Okay, wherever forests are degraded, rainfall has come down to 1700 to 1900 millimeter. 50% rainfall we have lost. I think one of the student is meditating. Okay, you think, okay, you tell me later, because you might be getting additional information subconsciously, okay? Okay, now I will tell you how the science will help in quantifying. See, it is not the quantity of rainfall that matters. How long that water is available in your water bodies plays an important role. Now, for that, we did a hydrological investigations in Western Ghats. We put the sensors in the underlying layers to find out how much water get infiltrated when it rains in various watersheds. Like the watershed dominated by the forest, native forest, watershed dominated by monoculture plantation, watershed dominated by the forest, etc., the urban area, etc. About 32 locations we selected. We monitored for 36 months. Wherever native species forests are there, because roots are diverse, and because roots are diverse, the soil microorganisms are also diverse and abundant. Because of that, the microbial activity, soil is porous or permeable. Because of that, percolation soil, water happens and it gets filled in the groundwater zone and the vado zone. And that water during the post-monsoon moves laterally. You have that water during the post-monsoon, what is stored in the vados and the groundwater zone for the next 8 months. In urban area, there's not much recharge happen. That's where you have the water scarcity throughout the year. Okay, during monsoon you have the flood, and during the post-monsoon you don't have the water. Okay, so now to summarize what I said, this is the region where 12 months water is available, 8 months here, 6 months here, and 4 months here. Now just overlay the vegetation cover. You see wherever native species forests are there, you have the 12 months water available. And about 60 to 70% rainfall get infiltrated. Wherever forests are degraded, you see only 30%, 28 to 30% get infiltrated, and that's where you see scarcity of water. Here you can see the demand for water for agriculture, horticulture, etc. And this gives the resource available in the region. You will see here wherever forests are there, you have enough water, which means forest and development can go hand in hand. It is not at one at the day. Wherever forests are removed in the name of development, we see the water scarcity in the region. Okay. Now you might ask how this helps the farmers. Farmers in this region, because the water is available 12 months, they can grow multiple crops or a cash crop. Their earning is 1,54,000 rupees. I will take another 2-3 minutes. 1,54,000 per acre per year. Whereas farmers in this region, take about 30, they can grow only one crop. Their earning is about 32,000 rupees per acre per year. And more importantly, you look at the yield of the crop. Here, for example, the paddy yield is as high as 14 to 18 quintal per acre, whereas here it is 6 to 8 quintal per acre. See, wherever native species forests are there, pollinators are abundant. Because of that, pollination becomes efficient, and with that, yield of the crop is higher. That's what our study shows. So that means if you want to double the income of the farmer, you just maintain the integrity of the ecosystem. Farmers get water, farmers get pollinators, and they get higher yield. We don't have to do anything more. Okay? So I'll just end with one story of a frog. Frogs are known as amphibians because it has 2 stages in its life cycle. First stage is a juvenile stage or a tadpole stage, which is in the water. Next stage is on the land, adult stage. Now, if there is no water in the region, what will happen to the frog? You cannot have tadpole stage. But in one of the drier region, where the stream has dried, we saw the frogs reproducing. We were curious. When we went to that region, we noticed the species Philatus leucorinus. After fertilization of the egg, on 14th day, we saw the younger ones are emerging out without tadpole stage. That means the organism has learned how to get adapted to the changes in climate. With the changes in climate, on the earth there won't be a water. If there's no water, none of us can survive. And it's only these organisms who have learned how to get adapted, how they continue to be there. That's what Dr. Pavitra talked about, adaptation. If the situation is inevitable, you have to get adjusted to that. That's what she said. But I'm giving you an example how the organism get adapted to your situation. Okay? So then to bring awareness in the people, we developed the decision support system to visualize the villages which are ecologically sensitive. And this app is called Sahyadri, which is available in Google Play Store. You can download, you can load in your mobile, and then can visualize what is the eco-sensitiveness of the villages in the Western Ghats, which one is highly ecologically sensitive. Our elders learned the linkage between the forest and the water availability. That's why they conserved the patch of forest and they said that they are sacred forest. Those who believe God, they said sacred forest in the name of God. Those who don't believe God, they said Daityas are there. So that's where you see the variants of the conservation measures in the thing. See, you would have seen Lord Shiva. As long as his head has hair, it retains the water, you have the water. To summarize what I said so far now, when Mother Earth is covered with a green saree of native species, she retains the water for 12 months. You all have water for 12 months. When we degrade that saree into the cover of less than 30%, then you see that there is a water poverty or a water scarcity in the region. That's how the need for conservation comes. Now let me end with another example of sustainability. I learned the concept of sustainability from this lady. She does the bivalve collection in the estuaries. Every day she collects only one bucket. And she goes under the water and spends 5 minutes to collect it. In our case, we cannot even spend 3 minutes in the estuary underwater. But she does it. She is about 65 plus, senior to me. Okay? I asked her why she doesn't collect the second bucket of the bivalves. She says, when I sell these bivalves, what I have collected today, I will get 350 rupees, which is sufficient for me to run my family. And for tomorrow, I will come and do the harvesting for tomorrow. That is the renewability. She said that if I leave it today, the juveniles of today, tomorrow they become adult, I will have a good yield. That is the concept of sustainability, which can happen only with the renewability. So I end my talk with that. Thank you very much for your listening to me. So I hope you will practice the environmental day goals and make sure that you don't use plastic unnecessarily. The refuse to use plastic, when your parents bring water bottle, you say, I don't want that. Or when they bring food in the plastic container, you refuse to have it. Let us make our earth the more secure for our children. Thank you very much.